Okay, everyone, today we're going to talk about two main topics. One is integers and the other is absolute value. So, first of all, let's go ahead and go to our vocab words. If you haven't taken your binder out yet, go ahead and do that. And let's take it and go ahead and make sure that you flip to your Chapter 3 notes. So it should look like where there's a green divider on the left and your notes are on the right. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Our very first word today for our vocabulary is the word integer. So integer, everyone. Okay, so for integer, here's what your book says. An integer, it says, is any number from the set, and of course you see in the set ellipsis, and then you have -4 all the way through +4, where the 3 dots, the ellipsis, means it continues without end. So in your little box off to the right there, go ahead, and that is for the synonym or an example, an easier example. Go ahead and write down positive and negative whole numbers and 0. So any positive number, negative number, and 0, that is basically what an integer is. Okay, our very next word, our next integer, words, sorry, not integer, but words, would be a negative integer. So negative integer, everyone. Okay, and the book says, and this is an integer that is less than 0, smaller than 0. So negative integers are written with a negative sign. All right, and in the little box on to your right there, go ahead and write this. These are numbers smaller than 0. So for example, -5 is a negative integer. Of course, on a number line, it's everything to the left of 0, or any whole number to the left of 0. All right, our next word is positive integer, everyone. Okay, so a positive integer is an integer that is more than 0. All right, positive integers are written with or without a positive sign. So for the most part, they're written without a positive sign. They'll just be a number without a sign. And I just have down here the 2 words since kindergarten. So basically, up to this point, it's almost every whole number that you have seen is a positive integer. 0, 1, 2, 3, all those counting numbers would be a positive integer, as long as there's no negative sign there. So 7 is a perfect example. So that should be in your box to the right on your notes. All right, the next word is graph, everyone. Okay, so this is a multiple meaning word. All right, but for the sake of this lesson and what you'll see in our in the directions in your book on your assignment, here's what it means. This is the process of placing a point on a number line or on a coordinate plane at its proper location. Okay, so we'll talk about coordinate planes maybe a little bit this year, as well as we'll talk a little bit about them in 8th grade. But what we're really focusing in on is putting a point on the number line. Okay, on the number line. You might even want to take note of the word on. It's on the number line. So the little saying I have that might help you remember a little bit better than this longer definition is this: put a dot in the right spot. So that spot is on the number line. You're just placing a dot or placing a point right on the number line, wherever it's asking you to place it. Okay, and then the last word or phrase that is part of our vocabulary that maybe you haven't seen before, and that is the phrase absolute value. Everyone? Okay, so the absolute value, it's as simple as this. It's the distance the number is from 0 on a number line. So the number 8, for example, well, it's 8 spots away from 0. So the absolute value is 8. The absolute value of 4 is 4 because it's 4 spots away. The absolute value of a negative number, something like this -5 here, well, I know it's to the left of 0, but we're only talking about distance. -5 is 5 spots, a +5. It's not -5 away from 0, it's just 5 spots away from 0, 5 units away from 0. Now, in your little box, here's what I want you to write. And you don't necessarily have to write the parentheses, but that there. Those are not parentheses, those lines there. That is showing absolute value. It's almost like a problem you need to simplify. X just represents a number. So a lot of times you'll see those lines with an integer, a positive or negative integer inside. Okay, and it's asking how far is that integer away from 0. All right, so that's absolute value. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Okay, so integers and absolute value. All right, so everyone go ahead and if your book's not already out, go ahead and take out your book. Turn to page 194 and 195. 194 and 195. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with page 194. And if you take a look at number 1, the directions say write an integer for each situation. All right, so it just gives us this little phrase. It says a deposit of $16. A deposit of $16. Okay, so here's what you're going to be looking for. All right. Step 1 is look for the kind of a key word here. Look for what's describing the number. All right. In this case, it's the word deposit. Now you have to think about what this means, and all of these words are going to have either a positive or a negative value to it. Okay, now I say value because it's not positive or negative feeling. Okay, it's a positive or negative value. So in this case, a deposit is like when you go to the bank and you put money, you put more money into your account. Maybe you have a savings account. And so what it's referring to is it's referring to what's happening to your bank account. Well, I'm asking myself, well, what's going on here? Is that a positive by putting more money in? Or a negative? Sometimes you can even think of it positive being more of an increase when you're talking about money, or negative being a decrease. So a deposit of $16 would be positive. So basically the only other thing you have to do, and this is basically step 2 here, is you need to show value of this as either a positive or negative when you're expressing an integer. So if it was a negative, I'd put a negative sign here, but deposit is a positive. So I could put positive, and then because we're just writing an integer, and just a basic integer doesn't have the units, like for the dollar sign. So it would just be a positive 16. Okay, or better yet, and you can write positive 16, that would be okay, but we'll just write it just like you've been saying since kindergarten, and that is a number 16. Either one of those are correct, and there's your answer. So that's all you're doing on that part. Okay? So here's what I'd like you guys to do. Go ahead and go over to your homework to page 195 and take a look at number 2. Number 2. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give you guys, using the steps, go ahead and use those steps. I'm giving you guys 30 seconds. Shouldn't take you any longer than that. Go ahead and do number 2. If you actually don't know, it says a bank withdrawal of $50. Okay, a withdrawal, let's just say, is the opposite of a deposit. So a deposit, you're putting money in. Withdrawal, you're taking money out of your account. Okay, so 30 seconds. Go ahead and write an integer that describes that situation. Go. Okay, so go ahead and shouldn't take much longer than that. Go ahead and turn to your partner and explain for 30 seconds. Share with them what your answer is and see if you disagree. If you do, remember to explain why you disagree, and just, of course, support your answer with the steps, with evidence. All right. So 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go. Okay, so page 195, number 2, it does say a bank withdrawal of $50. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to go ahead, and this is what you should have done. I'm going to follow along our steps. Step 1. Okay, let's take a look at a key word here. That's what we have underlined in the first one, deposit, right? Well, this is a bank withdrawal. And just basically, I kind of gave you the answer earlier by defining what withdrawal was. You're taking money out. Remember, I said it was the opposite. So in this case, step 2 is I needed to, of course, find out, is it positive, negative? Well, your account is going to be going down. Has a negative effect of a deposit, right? So, or an opposite effect, sorry. So that would give us a negative. So all I need to do is write my negative. Remember, do not put my dollar sign because we're looking at just an integer, and in this case the numerical value of that is just 50, right? And so we have negative 50. Okay, so we're just kind of talking about real life circumstances when it comes to integers. Let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at absolute value now. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and flip, or take a look, I should say, back at number 4 on page 194. We're actually going to do 2. Okay, so for number 4, it says evaluate each expression. So here's what I was talking about in our vocabulary. We have something that looks like this. Those are not parentheses. Every once in a while you'll treat them like parentheses. You'll have to simplify things inside of them, but in this case that's not the situation. So this is saying, okay, how far is negative 9 from 0? I mean, that is pretty much step 1. You're asking yourself, how far is it from 0? Well, that is it. Basically a math problem. All right, we just need to simplify or answer the question, I guess you could say. So that's what we need to do, of course, on step 2. So here's all you need to do, and I usually encourage my students to just show work, basically, is to go ahead and you can cross out either the whole thing and simplify, or you can cross out the absolute value lines with any negative, and that shows you, of course, your answer. So if we want to say step 2 is simplify, that's what we're doing. So our answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 9. Negative 9 is 9 spots away from 0 on a number line. Okay, so I'm going to take it up a step here, and that is I'm going to do problem number 5. Okay, 5 on the same page. The very next problem, what we have here is we have an actual math problem with absolute value lines in them. So we have what is the absolute value of 18 minus the absolute value of negative 10. Okay, so just have a little equal sign and an answer line, but we'll go ahead and work downward. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do step 1 and step 2 to both of these, all right, separately. So I guess if you want to have this, we're going to go ahead and we'll say simplify the absolute value. I'll just put AV for absolute value to make this a little faster, but we're going to simplify the absolute values first if we have absolute value within a math problem. So here we go. I say, okay, how far is 18 away from 0? Okay, it's 18 spots. How far is negative 10 away from 0? It's 10. The distance is 10 units, I should say, away from 0. Okay, now step 2, it's very little simple thing, but it's very crucial you do this, and that's to rewrite the problem. Well, in this case, we're only bringing down the subtraction sign. And then if there are no other absolute value lines left, we're going to go ahead and simplify the last part of the problem. So step 3, 18 minus 10 is 8, and we have our answer. All right. So here is what I would like you guys to try. So if you look at page 195, I want you guys, I'll give you, I think you could do it in 30 seconds by looking at it there. Shouldn't be an issue as long as you follow the steps. I'm going to go ahead and have you guys do problem number 8 on page 195. Problem number 8, 30 seconds, go. All right, go ahead and turn to your neighbors just like before. Go ahead and share your answer, and if you disagree, explain how you got your answer. 30 seconds, go ahead and share. Go. Okay. All right, so here we go. Page 195, problem number 8 looked like this. I'll go ahead and write down here. Move it up a little bit. Okay, problem number 8. It said, what is the absolute value of negative 7 minus 5? So if I go through here, right? Step 1, simplify absolute value. So there's only 1 on this one. So how far is negative 7 away from 0? 7 spots. Step 2 is rewrite. So I'm just going to bring down my subtraction sign in 5 and then simplify. Well, 7 minus 5 is 2. All right, so a little bit of absolute value. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about just briefly. It says remind about the answers in original form. That's of course a note to me, but if you take a look at let's say problem number 24. Okay, actually I don't even know if we have to look at problem number 24, but even if I use number 5 or number 8 as an example. A lot of times what happens is students, they get down here and then for some reason they'll get their answer and put absolute value lines around it. Okay? That's not what you want to do. Okay? You're not asking a question for your answer. How far is 8 away from 0? Okay? That wouldn't be simplified. So you don't want to leave your answer in the form of having the lines around the outside. Okay? So I just want to make sure that we know that. Let's go ahead then and let's move to back over to page 194. And let's take a look at problem number 7. We're talking number lines here. So on the number line, just draw it kind of quickly, it's not the prettiest. It says, number 7 says, graph the set of integers, and they have a set of integers that would be 11, -5, and -8. And it says, graph the set of integers on a number line. And then they give us this number line. So it goes -8, but it goes by 2. So it goes -6, -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, and we've been working with number lines lately, so it's just by 2. Now, when you number, I just copied what was in the book, but if you were able to number the number line, just realize that the opposite side, or I should say the negative side of the number line, it does exactly what the positive side does, but opposite. And you go from 0 to the left. So instead of going from 0 to the right, 2, 4, 6, 8, you go 0 to the left, -2, -4, -6, -8. So just a little something we'll be talking about in the near future still. So here we go, number 7. It wants us to, it says, again, graph the set of integers on the number line. So here we go. 11. Well, first of all, it's positive. That's really important to know. So I'm going to look at the positive side, which of course is always to the right of 0. So if I look here, there is no 11, but that's okay, because I know that 11, when I count, right, it goes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 11 is an odd number, which isn't on this number line, but it is still present, and it's right here. So when you graph a number on the number line, they want you to actually place a dot on the number line and then label it with an 11. Okay, I'm sorry, not number, but -5. Well, -5 is, of course, on the negative side, so it's to the left. Now, if I'm going to be counting over, right, I'd be saying -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Between the -4 and -6. Be very careful. A lot of people like seeing the 4 and always thinking positive, meaning it would be to the right. It isn't. Not on the negative side. It's between -4 and -6. So I'll plot my point here for -5. And then I'm pretty close, right? The last one is -8, and it is actually on the number line, so I'll just plot my point right at the -8. All right, and that's all they want you to do for that problem. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you, it will take you a little while to draw the little number line. Actually, you know what? Never mind, because you already have it drawn for you as well. So what I'd like for you to do is to go ahead and try out problem number 6. Okay, so place a point or put a dot in the right spot, and I want you to label what each dot, which integer goes above each dot there, each graphed spot. All right, so I want you to do problem number 6 on page 195. Problem number 6 on 195. I'll go ahead and give you 30 seconds for that one. 30 seconds starting now. Okay, 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share your answer. Go. it is okay to show them your number line when you're talking about it. Okay, so let's take a look at number 6 on 195. Let's check your answers. All right, so on 195, let me go ahead and I'll do a quick sketching of the number line. It's a pretty big number line here. It goes from -10 all the way to +10. Just do some splitting here to make it a little easier on myself with halfway our midpoints. So I'll just say -1, -2, -3, -4, -6, -7, -8, -9, and then on the positive side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5's already there, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So of course yours in the book's a little bit better looking than mine, so it's all right. Here we go. The set they give you is -5, -1, +10, and -9. Okay, so here we go. -5 is my first one. Oh, you know what? They did not give you odds, so I guess this is just a little helper if you ever want to. It was just numbered just like this one in your book. But if you ever want to add the others to try to make your life a lot easier, feel free, because I just did that and now I could actually see where they are. So -5 is here. -1, of course, is here. All negatives are to the left of 0. +10, I need to make sure I come over to the +10 to the right of 0. And -9's back to the negative side. Put a dot in the right spot. And of course, -9's halfway between -8 and -10. -5 is halfway between -6 and -4. -1 is halfway between -2 and 0. Okay, and of course 10, even in your book, is right on the 10. All right, and that is the lesson on integers and absolute value.